You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Julia Kim, and these are the headlines on the continent. Torrential floods in western Kenya claim more lives. At least 65 people have died, many buried under mudslides triggered by unseasonal rainfall. At least four people are dead after crowds target a UN peacekeeping mission in Congo. Protesters blaming them for failing to protect them from an armed militia, which is suspected of killing 8 civilians overnight. And today marks the 19th International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. We take a look at how 2 countries in Africa are dealing with the issue. First to Kenya, where 5 more people have died from extreme floods, bringing the total number of dead to at least 65. Police say 3 children were among the victims whose car was washed away. The unusual downpours started Friday in the northwest and worsened over the weekend. Scientists believe it's linked to record temperatures in the Indian Ocean. In recent weeks, extreme rainfall has left hundreds of thousands of people homeless throughout East Africa. Pierre Delrieux has more.
Local police and the Red Cross are still recovering bodies. In Kenya's West Pokot County, the area most affected by the heavy rains, floods and mudslides. Survivors have deserted their villages after losing their homes and their loved ones in what local residents describe as the worst disaster in memory.
Everywhere the land was sliding. Even where we're standing now, it could slide at any time. So many people have been affected. People have left their homes and no one can find a place to sleep because we don't know where or when the next landslide will occur.
According to local authorities, between 80 and 120,000 people have been affected by the floods. That's 1/5 of the county's population. The Kenyan government has sent military and police helicopters to help with the disaster. But as meteorologists expect another 4 to 6 weeks of heavy rainfalls, locals could face more destructive flooding.
We are urging people to move from the lower areas where the mudslides are more frequent and go to the evacuation centres because we don't know for how long it's going to rain. That will also help us to get food, relief and medical supplies to those affected.
The torrential rain is uncommon for this time of year, but has also hit South Sudan, Somalia and Djibouti. Some areas of the Horn of Africa have recorded more than 3 times their annual rainfall in only 4 days.
Well, angry protesters in the DR Congo have stormed the compound of a UN peacekeeping mission. Crowds defied warning shots fired by the Congolese military in the eastern city of Beni. They're furious after the overnight deaths of 8 civilians, widely blamed on an armed militia. Earlier, protesters also set fire to the town hall, saying the UN and the government had failed to stop the bloodshed. Maud Julien reports.
Hundreds came out to express their anger in Beni. They say the local authorities and the UN peacekeeping mission, the MONUSCO, which is 16,000 men strong, are not doing enough to protect them.
They haven't done anything. We can't see any work from the MONUSCO here.
There are 2 types of people at the MONUSCO. Those who are with the population and those who are against the population.
Protesters set fire to the city's town hall and stormed a UN camp. Gunshots were heard and several protesters were killed. Congo's military prosecutor said an investigation would be carried out to determine who shot. The outrage was sparked after 8 civilians were killed overnight on Sunday, the latest of many attacks by a local militia group that has killed hundreds of civilians in the area since 2014. Congo's government started an offensive against the group last month and announced on Monday after the protests that it would be launching joint operations with the UN force.
Now, today marks the 19th International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. With a domestic violence rate 5 times higher than that of Europe's, South Africa's president has called it the nation's shame. Cyril Ramaphosa blamed the problem on sexism, saying that far too many men and boys believe that women and girls deserve to be raped. South Africa 2 months ago announced a €100 million plan to tackle gender-based violence. The measures include shelters for abused women. Our correspondents went to visit one.
This group of women meet every week at an NGO to share their stories. stories of rape and domestic violence.
I had to stay with my mother's brother. Sorry. And then I got raped by my mother's brother. That I kept a secret to the family because they will never believe me.
And when there is rape, murder often follows. Something another young woman, Nozi Piwo, has witnessed. Raped along with two of her friends, only she escaped. The others were killed. Nozi Piwo was too scared to report the murders.
I'm not okay.
Sipokazi, who arranges the support sessions for the NGO, also has a story to tell. Her mother was beaten by her father-in-law.
I tried pulling her from the pool of blood. Her shoes was full of blood, her clothes. I couldn't even recognize her because her face was so big, her eyes were covered with, because she was so swollen. Police that came after, 7 hours after, demanding to take photos.
In South Africa, the rate of femicide is 5 times higher than in Europe. President Ramaphosa has decided to take action. His government is organizing public consultations where women like Sipokazi are invited to discuss solutions. Legislation put in place so far to protect women has not reduced the violence.
We all sing the song that we've got the best constitution in the world. But as a nation, where are our principles?
Because the previous year, it was 1 woman killed every 4 hours. In the last financial year, it's 1 woman every 3 hours. So, yes, it feels like we are fighting a losing battle.
For the victims, it's a battle to bring about a whole new mindset. The land of Nelson Mandela is still controlled by its systems of patriarchy.
Well, a new mindset is what women in Sudan are hoping for in the country post-revolution. The new government there has vowed to promote gender equality, but Sudan has a history of violently punishing women under strict religious laws. Activists say that while autocratic leader Omar al-Bashir may be gone, discriminatory attitudes towards women persist. Alison Sargent has the story.
Their voices were some of the loudest on the front lines of the revolution, calling for the overthrow of Omar al-Bashir's regime, which often targeted women with harsh interpretations of Sharia law. In 2010, this woman was charged with drinking alcohol and was lashed over 100 times.
Flogging breaks you from inside. Since then, I've become more violent myself. I get angry easily. I break things. All these changes in me happen because I am a victim of violence.
In August, army and civilian leaders signed a power-sharing deal which includes a promise to guarantee and promote women's rights. But only a handful of women are part of the transitional government, and discriminatory laws remain on the books, while there are no laws protecting women from crimes like genital mutilation and child marriage.
There is a crackdown on women. Yesterday, we complained to the Prime Minister and the President of the Ministry Council. The police are still chasing women. Why? We're all civilians. Why is this still happening? These problems go deep and have to be completely uprooted. This revolution belongs to us, we women.
A women's revolution that is only just beginning. Sudanese activists want the country to join international conventions and follow through on a promise to appoint a commission on women and gender equality that would change the country's laws.
Well, let's turn now to Nigeria, which has launched its first national sex offenders register. The database of those convicted for sexual violence is widely seen as an important step in addressing abuse. The record will be available online to the public, which will be able to access the names of those prosecuted for sexual violence since 2015. The government says the worsening security crisis in northeast Nigeria had seen a rise in sexual abuse cases. According to the UN Children's Agency UNICEF, 1 in 4 Nigerian girls are sexually abused, and the majority of cases never make it to court. And finally, a short list of contenders for the African Player of the Year has been revealed by the Confederation of African Football. And there's no surprises regarding the 2 biggest names on the list. Liverpool stars Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane won the Champions League last season and are currently top of the Premier League. Other big names among the 30 nominees include Gabon's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang at Arsenal and Riyad Mahrez. Mahrez won the Premier League with Manchester City and led Algeria to glory at the African Cup of Nations in July. The winner will be announced in Cairo next year. And that's it for this edition of Eye on Africa. Stay tuned to more news on France 24.